someones from the past.
It's here in season 34's Lisa the Boy Scout where Bart finally revealed how The Simpsons is able to predict the future, and did so in the most hilariously meta way possible.
Okay, let's see. You're gonna want to mention gas hoarding, pandemics, Germany beats Brazil in the 2014 World Cup, Disney buys Fox.
Not only this, but the episode also dived into other crazy fan theories, such as the mystery behind Ralph's real father,
My son's breath smells like cat food.
and how Homer has been in a coma since season 4.
But I had so many adventures. More than 700.
Those were all coma dreams. None of them ever happened.
But as I look back on this episode, I realised that it wasn't only playfully answering these viral internet discussions and theories, but it was also playing into another one, the criticism of modern Simpsons and its supposed decline in quality. Now, this playful awareness started at the very beginning. The title Lisa the Boy Scout and the opening alone leads us into believing we are gonna get yet another typical plot of Lisa challenging gender norms. But then it completely flips our expectations by cutting to two hackers.
Come on, you two.
We are pseudonymous, and we have taken over this broadcast.
These hackers expose never before seen clips that could quote unquote ruin the show. These range from secrets made up specifically for the episode, like how this guy is able to appear almost everywhere in every single episode, as well as combining them with real Simpsons clips that fans universally hated, like Homer's affair with a kebab, Burns' swinging eyeballs, and these pesky jockey elves. It's here where the writers were full on admitting their mistakes, but in doing that, they also revealed another thing, that The Simpsons can still surprise us. Yep, I'm gonna say it now, that the secret to The Simpsons' new success is that they haven't been afraid to take risks and experiment with the formula. I mean, season 34 took a real risk by releasing not one, but two Treehouse of Horrors in the same year. A choice that paid off massively because they were the best in decades. It allowed them to do what they've never done before, dedicate an entire Halloween special to just one story, which in this case was Stephen King's It, and it was absolutely fantastic. And then there was the second special, which was Treehouse of Horror 33, which is quite possibly one of my favourites since the 7th one. Every single segment was great, and Death Dome in particular goes down as one of the most ambitious they've ever done. Based on the Death Note manga and series, Springfield is reimagined as an anime, and it looks incredible. Unsurprising once we find out that it was partly animated by the same team behind the original show. But Simpsons World had to be my favourite segment. It was based on the series Westworld, where we see a Simpsons theme park inspired by its own golden age, replaying iconic moments in a constant loop. And it wasn't just an incredibly fun way to cram in lots of memorable references, but it was also an attempt to address how the show needs to evolve too. I mean, we will always have the earlier seasons to watch, but The Simpsons must break new ground to earn its continued existence. And yes, their attempts don't always work out, but I do appreciate them switching up their formulas to avoid stagnation and repetition. One such successful experiment with them mixing up the formula was season 33's A Serious Flanders. This two-part loving tribute to crime shows was a story that I just couldn't see them doing in the 90s or the early 2000s. It's a darker, more mature episode that shows how The Simpsons has been able to evolve to tell more gritty stories. And this experiment definitely paid off, with this one being one of the highest rated episodes in recent years. And even though The Simpsons has definitely always played with its formula and getting meta like season 11's Behind the Laughter, since season 31 there seems to be a real consistent effort to have more fun breaking away from the traditional storytelling. Like for instance, season 31's Thanksgiving of Horror introduced a new twisted spin on a beloved holiday, with 3 innovative stories spanning the first to the very last Thanksgiving. This anthology is scarier than many later Treehouse of Horror entries, and it's just one of several non-canon episodes that reveal the show's true return to form. Now, I love this one so much that I even have a poster of it framed on my wall, signed by some of the Simpsons writers, Brian Kelly, Tim Long, Matt Selman, and Rob Lezebnik. And this is probably a great time to segue into this video sponsor, FlexiSpot. Now, since starting YouTube, a few of you have been asking to see my office setup, so this is where me and my husband work. We received our FlexiSpot standing desks a few weeks ago, and I can honestly say that it's definitely changed the way I make these videos. Beforehand, I used to do my voiceover sitting down, but by standing up, it really opens up my diaphragm, and for some reason, I stutter a lot less. Also, I have 4 different preset settings, and I can lower it according to what kind of job I'm doing. For instance, when I'm doing voiceover work, I need it really high, but when I'm doing writing and thumbnails and stuff, I can have it a little bit lower. And if you want to know, I personally have the FlexiSpot Standing Desk E8 model. You can choose what colour top to have, and you can pick between white or black legs according to what kind of style you want. And luckily, FlexiSpot currently have a summer sale with up to £130 off. This offer ends on the 31st of July, so if you are interested in getting one, I've linked it down below in the description. Let's get back to the video. So yeah, basically I do believe that The Simpsons, especially since season 31, has entered a new golden age. And I'm not saying that every single episode has been a winner, but there are far more home runs than misses. I don't believe that the new seasons are better than the first 10 or so, but they are still great in their own right. The show now has been able to evolve the characters, but not so drastically where the characters we love are unrecognisable. And in many ways, the recent seasons remind me of the very first one. Lighter on laughs, but heavier on characterisation and deeper themes. Season 33's Pixelated and Afraid is a great example of this. And what makes this episode so special is that unlike previous Homer and Marge-centric episodes, this one starts and ends with a couple happily in love. After so many stories of their struggling relationship, it seems that they are finally truly content. Gone are the days when Homer would willingly neglect his family or wear dynamite to a town meeting just for a little bit of attention. It feels nice to say that jerk-ass Homer is well and truly dead. He regained a heart that's reminiscent of early Homer, and one that I had really missed from the middle seasons. In fact, Pixelated and Afraid is one of the most intimate and raw stories that the show has ever done, which is elevated through superb animation and incredible landscapes. There are just so many beautiful moments in this episode, from them slow dancing together,
I know together we can make a pretty world,
to when they finally make it through the wilderness and find help. And what's great is that this happy, content couple idea wasn't lost after this episode. In season 34, Marge is reunited with the only man that really threatened their marriage, Jacques. But in Pin Gal, she couldn't really care less about him and his advances, which is a big step from their first meeting when she seriously considered running away with him. And aside from this story, instead of going through the typical route of Homer being annoyed that Marge was a better bowler than him, he actually loved her more for it.
Are you upset that I'm good at your thing?
No, Marge, I am in awe. You have a gift.
There are so many cute moments like this throughout the past 2 seasons. It doesn't feel forced either, it feels genuine. And genuine is definitely a word that I can best use to describe modern Simpsons as a whole. Like Lisa's Belly, for instance, tells a story about body image that I think we can all relate to. Not only does it show Lisa dealing with body acceptance, but it also explores how generational trauma can deeply affect us all without even realizing it. I wanted to bring up this episode specifically because so many of you have said that it really speaks to you, because you've also experienced body image struggles, as have I.
Someone's getting chunky.
Chunky.
I think that the key reason why this episode feels so relatable is because it was written by Juliet Kaufman, who was inspired by her own childhood experiences. It's one of my absolute favourite episodes in recent years, and it's such a simple but brilliant idea. Like Marge is a character who is always trying to do the right thing. That's just who she is, but even she is unaware of how a passing comment could have such a negative impact on her daughter. That is until she realises how hurtful her own mother's words were.
You're playing features.
Marge wasn't intentionally trying to put Lisa down, she's just a complicated, flawed and genuine character, and someone who we can definitely probably see in our own mothers. She's not a bully and she's not mean, she's just a mum who makes mistakes.
I never realized how much power my words have.
As a whole, I think you can really feel the genuine effort that they are making with modern Simpsons. Newer episodes just feel more authentic and real, and I strongly believe that this is because the writers have been given more ownership over their own episodes. This is in part due to Matt Selman, who became the co-showrunner in season 33, and in an interview with Vulture, he was reluctant to take credit for the show's recent success, saying, "Everything in showbiz is like pretend you do it all. Fuck that, we're a team, I'm the coach." But as showrunner, he's given the writers more license to experiment and not worry so much about what made the show so successful before. As such, they've been able to create stories inspired by their experiences, like Lisa's Belly and season 33's The Sound of Bleeding Gums, which was written by Loni Still Sosland, who was inspired by her own deaf brother's experience.
I can't enjoy music because I can't hear it. Never could. I was born profoundly deaf.
And also there was the episode Portrait of a Lackey on Fire, which sees Smithers finally get into a real relationship with a man. It was written by famed Simpsons writer Rob Lezebnik along with his son Johnny Lezebnik, who is gay himself. In an interview with AV Club, he said, "When my dad and I talked about writing this episode, something that was important to me was to see his relationship grow and flourish, to get those intimate moments of two gay people on screen talking and being gay or dating." All in all, it was a really great episode, and it was so nice to see Smithers talk openly with his boss, even if Mr. Burns didn't quite listen to him.
Tell me about the lucky lady.
Man.
Oh, what's her name?
Michael.
Michelle.
This, as well as more involvement from the whole Simpsons team like Carolyn Omine, who have been more involved in producing episodes, is a big reason as to why I think the stories have got so much better. By the way, I would really recommend following Carolyn on Twitter, as she posts really interesting behind the scenes stuff live when an episode first airs. In fact, I get a lot of my information from her Twitter account, so thanks Carolyn. What's integral when writing these fresh episodes is to remember who the characters really are, and although some episodes may show the Simpsons kids acting like teenagers, they are still children. Therefore, there was a great decision in Pixelated and Afraid, which showed Lisa's inability to see her parents finally happy.
Their relationship has no spark or romance.
It shows that childlike naivety that we sometimes don't get from Lisa. But as Carolyn put it, one of the few shows where Lisa gets it wrong and the parents have it right. An 8-year-old cannot conceive the ability to toss a dirty diaper to your beloved is proof that you have a deep and abiding love.
Nice throw.
Nice catch.
And speaking of Lisa, her and Homer's odd couple stories are usually a winning formula, and season 34's From Beard to Paternity is no exception, except this time their relationship was seen through the eyes of Duff Man of all people, and his attempt to reconnect with his estranged daughter. Now, this is just one example of how modern Simpsons has taken steps to evolve not only the family, but even one-joke wonders. And they have definitely experimented with side characters before, like Superintendent Chalmers taking a break from screaming at Principal Skinner to become a mentor to Springfield Elementary's troubled youths in season 23, as well as the saga of Carl's trip to Iceland that provided an unexpectedly complex backstory and tale of male friendship. And while neither boasted the biggest laughs, they did show a genuine desire to flesh out characters that viewers barely knew. And in recent seasons, we got just that, more fleshed out secondary characters with hopefully long-lasting results. Even the likes of Comic Book Guy landed himself the best wife ever in season 25.
Best day ever.
But his character got even more depth in season 32's The Dad Feelings Limited. The episode did this by shining a light on his lonely childhood and having him confront his estranged father.
Perhaps we should do something we've never done. Add a catch?
I think I would like that.
They did this to change Comic Book Guy's snarky attitude towards children and growing a family with Kamiko. Therefore, this development showed us that they will continue to develop these two characters and introduce kids into their future. There's a real thought process. Also, parodying the Royal Tenenbaums, where the key theme is the dysfunctional family, makes it perfect for telling Comic Book Guy's story.
However, his family poured their love into their collections instead of into the lonely little boy.
Even the bitter, creepy and lonely bartender Moe, who was slowly sinking into the shadows of his bar, has finally been granted the opportunity to evolve. The Simpsons did this by introducing him to his perfect match back in season 20.
Would you look at me? I'm the happiest bartender in the world.
But like Comic Book Guy, this took some time to circle back, as it was over a whole decade until Moe was reunited with Maya. This was in season 33's The Ways We Were. But whereas before Comic Book Guy's hang-ups were his daddy issues, this time Moe was able to address his own issue of self-sabotage.
Look at us. She's not gonna come back. They never come back.
Moe is often shown as his own worst enemy, and to see him overcome this destructive nature and trust that he can find happiness with Maya was the best thing to happen to his character in years. It's a longer way to change that should absolutely be permanent. And from major characters to minor players, Springfield is getting a whole lot of development everywhere. In fact, recent seasons have seen several secondary characters reach out in the hope of forming lasting friendships. Superintendent Chalmers finally recognized Skinner's worth in the road to Cincinnati in season 32, and it's one of my favourite modern episodes. And in fact, the Simpsons family aren't in it at all, yet it's still funny, sweet, and really evolves this iconic duo's relationship.
I respect Seymour Skinner. In fact, I like him.
And weirdly, Chalmers in particular has been given a lot of focus in recent seasons. We saw him struggle as a single father and form an unlikely bond with Homer, which would come back around when Chalmers joins his group of tortoise-loving conspiracy theorists. Even newish characters like Shauna, introduced as Chalmers' daughter in season 20 and then was seen less and less, basically becoming lost and forgotten, has also been given more time to shine. Such as when we saw her softer side in becoming almost like a big sister to Lisa as they bond over their love of music. But one character whose progression I absolutely love is Martin Prince, who in my opinion hasn't been properly utilised since season 2. In the episode Boys in the Highlands, we finally see a more edgier version of the buttoned-up A student that is believable.
I'm going to explode, and I have problems, Bart! Scary problems!
We see that under his thirst for good grades is really a lonely and desperate boy pushed to the limit by his parents. He just yearns to be accepted.
Prince, you're a certified pre-owned badass.
Not to mention when Martin was perhaps given the most viral Simpsons moment in Lisa the Boy Scout, when it was revealed that he's actually a grown-up man with a wife and kids.
Look at me, Dee Dee. I'm the only 36-year-old who can pass for 10!
And although it was just supposed to be non-canon, it was also hilarious seeing how many people believed that this was really who Martin Prince was. And circling back, with Homer and Marge's relationship in a much better place now, it gave the writers more freedom to explore other relationships. Even Wiggum's wife Sarah got a backstory. As did Cletus's wife, sister / mum, grandma, cousin, whatever, Brandine, in season 33's Pretty Little Liar. Here we learn that she was actually hiding her secret intelligence from everyone in town, including her very own husband. And not wanting to dumb herself down anymore for others, Brandine stopped hiding her love for books, thus forcing Cletus to make the choice to accept her for who she is and not hang on to the woman she was.
Yeah, man, this looks like a toughie.
We'll get through it together.
There are some other recent episodes that I really want to shout about, and that is season 34's The Very Hungry Caterpillars, which is a lockdown story that just doesn't feel dated in any way. I also love that it still showed Bart's conflicted bad boy side, firstly with him spying on and laughing at Skinner, but then revealing his softer side too, like when he helps reveal that Skinner's cousin is trying to steal his beloved family blankie.
All right, fine. I can't believe I'm saying this. We're gonna help our principal get his blankie back.
And speaking of Bart, I also adored the episode Bartless, which showed what everyone's lives would be like without the little Hellraiser, and it was such a genuine surprise and put the spotlight on a character who I did feel was slowly being forgotten. Seriously, go and check them out. There is such an obvious effort by the Simpsons team to continue making this show great, so why the hell end it now? And I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that you're wrong if you dislike the new Simpsons. It's your opinion, and no one can tell you otherwise. This is more directed at those people who say it sucks without even bothering to watch it. And to you, I'm only saying give it another chance, and if you still come to that conclusion, then that's fine. Again, art is subjective, and I can only offer another perspective. So, if you watch the new episodes, which one stood out to you in particular? For me, I love Lisa's belly, Lisa the Boy Scout, and the very hungry caterpillars. And if you don't watch Modern Simpsons, then let me know when you stopped and why you stopped. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.